My name's Chris Parry. You might have seen me around the traps over the years. I was the guy that pointed out cannabis was going to be a thing before anyone else knew. I was the guy that pointed out on this very stage, 4 days before the historical peak, that you should get the fuck out of cannabis. I was the guy who said esports is great and all, but you don't want to be putting millions of dollars into 4 teenagers that have never had a barista job. And today I'm going to follow that with going again off the regular topic. Everyone out there is telling you how great uranium is. Newsflash, we all know how great uranium is. I'm sure you've all got something in your portfolio. I don't need somebody to tell me what the weather is outside today. I need someone to tell me what it's going to be tomorrow. So along those lines, I'm going to tell you about the investment that I made 3 years ago that my accountant said, you're a fool, you're an idiot, don't do it, it'll never work. This is the dumbest thing I've seen in years. And then he said, nobody invests in sports. That's pretty true for the most part. Reality is that the people who do historically invest in sports are billionaires. And not just billionaires, but the right kind of billionaires, if you know what I mean. Donald Trump once infamously tried to buy an NFL team and was told by the commissioner of the NFL, as long as I'm alive and my kids are alive and have the ability to stop you from doing so, you will never be an NFL team owner. Last year, Ryan Reynolds tried to buy a team in the NHL and was told politely, thank you, very wealthy, interesting person that everyone loves. We have no interest in letting you into our club. As you can see from the numbers there, generally speaking, to buy a Major League sports team costs about 1/3 of the annual revenue of the entire league. That is, if anyone's actually selling and if you're acceptable to be an owner. Don't worry about the MLS, that's new, they're crazy. The numbers don't make any sense there. So the thing with a closed shop is eventually the money needs somewhere to go. And as it overflows out of Major League sports in the US, because there's artificial scarcity, they're not making any more teams, the money started flowing into Europe. And as you can see at the Premier League level, 10 of the 20 teams there are now owned by American private equity firms. This is obviously a sign that down the line is going to continue elsewhere. And as you can see, it has. The Saudis bought golf, not a tournament, not a golf course, but the entire sport. Mark Cuban just sold an NBA team for $5 billion. And the guys that owned it said, hey, we don't want to actually run the team. We don't give a shit. We just want the asset. You can keep playing with it as long as you want. And in fact, if we go down the list, we can see that there's been massive investments in cricket, in rugby, where private equity is buying not just teams, but leagues. In fact, the national teams of some countries are now owned by private equity. The New Zealand All Blacks are owned by Americans. And we can even get into the lower levels here. So this guy, Ryan Reynolds, born in New Westminster, a local kid, went out and bought a team at the 5th level of the English Football League. Made a series about it on TV, very successful, everyone loves him. But guys that are actually in sport in the UK are kind of flummoxed by this. All these billionaires that are coming along, this is a Twitter conversation between a guy who owns a club at the 4th level in England, where he's asked by a fan, why are all these Americans spending all this money on our clubs that don't make any money? And the guy that owns the club says, I have no idea. I have some idea. And it goes back a little bit historically. You may recall back in the network TV days where we all watched the same TV show and the next day we would all talk about the Dukes of Hazzard and how Daisy Duke looked in her Daisy Dukes. We all had these cultural touchstones where we could talk about things that we were all interested in. Then along came cable TV and shredded that audience, split it 100 ways, and we stopped having that cultural touchstone. Then along came pay-per-view and along came VHS. And we got to a time where every couple of years there'd be a new innovation that would shred the innovations before it. If you're an advertiser in the network TV days, that was easy. You bought an ad on all of the 3 networks. Today, reaching a national audience has become very difficult. It's very splintered. And in fact, when Netflix came along, ads were completely jettisoned. Now, Netflix had a good growth period there. 2017, 2018, 2019, 30% growth. That's amazing. Lots of people bought the stock. Lots of people were very happy to be investors in Netflix. But by 2021, once the pandemic was over, the cat was kind of out of the bag. Growth is only at 6%. And in fact, if you go past that to 2022, Netflix had negative subscriber growth for the first time. The reason for that is very simple. You can't make more people. They've already maxed out on their potential audience. Now they have to monetize that audience, which means now they're bringing ads back, which pisses everybody off. If I asked any of you out there what was the last Netflix show you watched, you probably couldn't tell me, or even if it was on Netflix or one of the 1,000 other streaming platforms that exist. If you're a content creator, that's great. You might be able to get someone to finance your production. But who's going to watch? If Netflix got the Barbie movie made, it would take 2 years to produce, $150 million to make, and then we watch it for an hour and a half, and then we say, what else you got? So these guys have gone from a place of making good original content to making shitty content. Now it's like flick, Fuckboy Island, autism people are going on dates. What the fuck am I actually watching here? The one piece of content that still gets people, well, actually, we haven't even talked about video games, podcasts, social media, all distracting us away from those screens and those productions and pieces of content. TikTok gets millions of hours of free content given to it by users every day that it then monetizes and doesn't have to spend anything on. This is a mess. Content is a mess. Except for sports ball. Sports is the one area where we all still have an interest. When the Canucks are playing, you guys are watching. When the Super Bowl is on, everyone's watching. And what happens with the advertising? It costs $1 million for 30 seconds because everyone's finally watching together. Sports, if you're interested in it, you find new friends. You go to the bar and say, hey, did you see the Canucks game? Suddenly people want to talk to you. If you find someone in your family who watches the same, I can get my kids off the phone to watch sports, but I can't get them off the phone to watch a movie. They're not going to sit in one place for 90 minutes. It isn't going to happen. Sports still has everything we need as a cultural touchstone to get us all in the same room. The beauty of it, though, is the advertising. You all had the experience on YouTube where an ad plays before the thing that you want to see, and you can't wait to break your finger off hitting that skip button, right? Ads on sports are part of the aesthetic. They're on the shirt. They're on the boards behind the guys. They're on the road. They're on the car. They're on the field. They're on the ice. They're on the name of the stadium. We don't care about ads in sports the way we despise them in every other part of society. In fact, we buy the shirt with the ad on front. I'm chair of a kids soccer club out in Richmond, and we gave away a sponsorship last year because we couldn't find someone to buy one because the kids want a company on the front of their shirts, even if they're not paying for it. Advertising only works in sports, and it works in a massive way. Premier League makes $36 billion a year in annual revenue. The NFL makes half that. Major League Baseball, much, much less. In fact, this is the equivalent of 30 Barbie movies being produced and released in 1 year. If you had a company that said, we've got 30 Barbie movies that are going to come out in the next year, essentially one movie every 2 weeks of the same size as Barbie, the highest grossing movie last year, you would invest in that company. The Premier League does that every year. In fact, every weekend, 10 matches, 90 minutes each, zero development cost, zero production cost. They happen live. People pay £180 to watch them in the stadium, 60,000 people at a time. There is money dripping off the screen when it comes to the Premier League in ways that don't happen in any other form of entertainment. Highest grossing movie last year, $1.4 billion. Highest grossing video game, $900 million. Highest grossing music tour, Taylor Swift, $1.1 billion. Imagine if you had 36 Taylor Swift tours going at once. That's the Premier League. Now we go back to our friend Ryan Reynolds here, who unfortunately, when he bought into Wrexham, made me the second best looking owner in the non-league national. My story is when COVID happened and I was bored, I had some money in my pocket, I decided to go buy an English football club. You can see here on the list, this is how the English pyramid works. The Premier League's at the top, underneath that the Championship, League One, League Two. Then you got the National League down there. Some of the clubs down there are part-time, some are full-time. Everybody loses money up and down this chain, except on their exit. In the Championship, clubs spend 125% of their annual revenue just on the players before you get into any other expenses. Those at the top are licensed to lose money, and yet they are the hottest thing for billionaires to buy. Why is that? It's all about the exit. And it's all about what we talked about, having your hands on content that people actually love. So Ryan Reynolds bought in at the National League level. 3 months before he did, I did. So I've liked soccer for a while. And during COVID, I was bored. I had some money burning a hole in my pocket. So I called up 12 clubs in England and said, hey, if I gave you money, how interested would you be? 12 clubs said, please give us your money. We're all losing money hand over fist. We could use yours. We have taxes to pay. We have debts to pay. And it sounded like my accountant was actually right at that point. So I kept calling, and the 13th club I called was Altrincham FC. These guys said, we don't want your money. We've been promoted twice in the last 3 years. We are profitable, even during COVID, with no fans in the ground. If we let you in, what would you bring to the table? And I said investors, and a deal was done. I've owned a piece of this club. I'm now diluted. I used to be the largest single shareholder. I'm not anymore. We bought in at 22 at a £300,000 valuation. The valuation in 2024 is 10x that. We just raised $1.5 million, including from 3 of the top 10 richest people in the UK. Lewis Hamilton, the Formula One driver, is a part owner in our club. We are finding so many people interested in buying in to professional sports that it's spinning my head. In fact, at our booth over there, since we've been sitting there, I've had 4 representatives from private equity firms show up, drop their business cards and say, I'm interested in what you're doing. Call me later. The billionaires buy in at the high level. They've got that sewn up. I'm never going to own a Premier League club because I'm not a billionaire, nor am I the right kind of billionaire. But at the lower levels, now the price is right. There's 25 levels beneath this, going all the way down to beer leagues and pub leagues. So as a retail investor, and I still think of myself that way, I can make the calls and I can buy in and make something happen that if we do really well with this, we go up a division, another division, and another division. In fact, right now we're in 5th place, which is in the playoffs. So we're in good form to get up to the next division next year. If we do that, that's another 8 to 10x valuation on what we've already put in. Now, to take $300,000 and get it to a $12, $15 million valuation in 3 years is pretty good, I think. And the only reason that it really works is this is a well-run club. It's not just any old team. We did our due diligence. We found good management team. The club's been around since 1891. We pay £5,000 a year rental for the stadium. It's all free money. This is Nation Extreme Wrestling. After our success of the football club, I figured maybe let's try live events. So we started a professional wrestling promotion in Vancouver. You'd be shocked to know that people will jump off a 36-foot high ladder onto concrete head first for $100. This is a good business model for a promoter because there's not very much risk. We put on shows at this venue, at the convention center. We sold out there. We put on shows at Nat Bailey Stadium. We put on shows at the Commodore Ballroom. In fact, next Saturday, there's a show at the Commodore if you all want to come and have a look. $25 is the cheapest ticket. It's beer, it's violence, sometimes it's blood. What's better? It's kind of like being on the floor out here during your average mining show. Longer term, our plan is to create what we're calling Level Up Sports Investment, a small cap retail sports investment firm that will go out, do the due diligence, find things that are interesting to invest in that have upside. For reference's sake, that doesn't include minor league hockey. It doesn't include minor league baseball. The problem with North American sports is there's no way for a club to go from the minors to the majors. The majors are a closed shop. But I'll tell you, the way things work currently is not the way things are going to work in 2 or 3 years. Right now, we're unionizing pickleball players, guys. Like, the women's sports are finally getting investment. There's been a professional women's soccer league and hockey league open up in the last 6 months in North America. We're at a point now where finally women are being treated like people. And the only reason that that's happening is because there's profit to be had. Everyone needs new sports. So we've got the live events side of things. We've got the soccer side of things. We're going to explore all areas of European sport where promotion and relegation are a thing. Minor league sports, that doesn't happen, right? Minor league sports, The players are owned by the parent company. They play with the management from the parent company. You just sell beers and hot dogs. All right? There's no investment criteria there. But in Europe, if we can buy small and travel things up through the divisions, we can turn a $300,000 investment into a Premier League club. And the evidence of that is a club called Luton Town that is in the Premiership right now. £300 million valuation. 9 years ago, they were at our level. So it can be done. Every time we have success, the valuation goes up. And the valuation will never go down because it's a closed shop in sports. If you can't buy a cricket team, you start a cricket league. If you can't start the cricket league, you buy the management company or the broadcast rights. You know, if we take what the Saudis have done in golf, basically 10 years ago, if you were a Saudi, you couldn't get on the greens at Augusta. They wouldn't let you in. The old racist guys in the green jackets would show you out to the public course. Now they work for the Saudis. This change in sports, it's all about what's happening in 3 to 5 years' time in content. Nobody's going to care about movies. Nobody's caring about music. I found out yesterday the most highest grossing piece of music on Spotify this past year earned $5 million in streaming royalties. The biggest song of the year earned $5 million. Who wants to be in music? Who wants to be in video games and spend $150 million developing a video game that people play for 12 hours? Why not come and do what we're doing? So that's me. I will not leave without telling you that my day job, of course, is at equity.guru. We combine journalism with stock promotion. We're the only guys that do stock promotion that had both the BCSC and the RCMP show up at our booth and say, hey, we love your stuff. I think that indicates that we're a little bit honest. If honesty is important. We also have a company called Parry Research. We have a website called the House Street Reporter. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere. If you've got a company that you would like someone to tell a complicated story to, come see us. We're at the other side of the room. And if you know of a sporting body, team, league, athlete that you think is a prime target for some investment, do come over and talk to us because the private equity guys are going to buy my shit any minute now, and I need something else to put my money to. Thank you very much.